Channels, saving selections. Hi guys, today we begin the section devoted to the study of channels. You remember that there are different color models, in which colors are formed by mixing the colors that make up this color model. For example, in the RGB color model, all shades of colors are obtained by mixing red, blue and green colors. There is a special palette for working with channels, and we have already seen it once. It is called channels. If suddenly you don't have it open, if you don't see it, then you can always go to the window menu and check the box next to the channels. Since the color model of the image is RGB, then the colors are red, green and blue. Red, green and blue channel. If we have a SMIC image, then accordingly the colors will correspond to this system. We have a composite channel called RGB, which includes the sum of all the channels below, and separately we can look at each of the channels. Let's for example do this. Well, let's leave only the red and blue channels on, for example, while turning off the green one, and that's how our image changed. Or conversely, we can turn off the red. In general, it can even be used to tone the image. In principle, the channels palette is quite similar in structure to the layers palette, and I won't talk about this too much, since it's quite easy to work with this palette. Now let's talk about why our channels are presented in black and white. For example, the red channel looks like this, the green channel looks like this, and the blue channel looks like this. And see that these channels differ in brightness. The brightest is red channel, and this is usually the case if we use the RGB color model. Well, so, the fact is that Photoshop in general doesn't distinguish colors, and the amount of red, green and blue color that is contained in the image is encrypted in the channels. But at the same time, the amount of this color is determined by black and white shades. That's the trick. And the more colors we have, the lighter the shades in the image in those areas where this colors is present. Here we have a red fish, and look how white it is on the red channel. This just shows that we have a lot of red here. And if we switch for example to the green channel, then we will see how the background around the fish has changed. This means that it contains a lot of green shades, because even in blue water there are also elements of green. But at the same time, the fish has become very dark, because here we probably have almost no green color at all, and the darkest channel, the most contrasting one, is blue. By the distribution of white and black colors, we can also see that these places that now look white, in fact, are water areas that have blue shades. And fish is much less light, and its saturation depends, of course, on the presence of blue. That's how it all works. And in the next lessons, we'll consider how this can be useful to us. In addition to the fact that the channels contain information about the colors and the proportions of the colors that are represented in the images, selected areas can also be saved in channels, and we have already mentioned this. Well, let's talk about it again. For example, I'll select some area. I take a magic wand and now click on the wall, selecting this area. Let's assume that we need to save this selected area for some purpose in order to use it in the future. In this case, we can go to the Channels tab and click on the mask icon. In Channels, this icon saves the selected area in the new channel in the form of a mask. Therefore, it is the mask icon. Click and we have an alpha channel. Now let's say we cancelled our selection. Then we moved to the layers. Did a lot of different operations there. Where other? For example, I create a new layer and let me desaturate it. Let me remind you that the desaturate operation is invoked with the Ctrl plus Shift plus U keys. That is, we have done a lot of some actions, and now already on this black and white layer, I would like to see my selected area in order to do something else with it. Then I go into the channels, and holding down Ctrl, I click on the channel icon, and I get the selected area back. It would normally be quite difficult for me to select something like this in a black and white image, and you can remove the selection. Then I can make some more operations, but each time I can return to the channels, and holding down Ctrl, I click on the alpha channel icons, and the selected area will appear again for me, and I will be able to make some operations with it. For example, I could change its tone or something, but the possibilities of the saved selected area are not limited to this. Let me remove the selection and do this. I will turn on the alpha channel eye icon, and look, I have a mask. What is now colored red? This is exactly the area that I have masked, and if I want to somehow change the boundaries of my selected area, I can do it the same way as on a regular mask. I draw your attention to the fact that I have to make the alpha channel active, so that these actions can be made. And immediately, the foreground color and the background color change to black and white. So, we take a brush. I want to edit a selected area here. I may even make it semi-transparent. Maybe it will be interesting somehow. And I want to edit it here. So then I take a black brush and I return to the image to the previous view. Here, let's do it in some other places. Well, in general, I have done something like that. Somehow, I changed my selected area. I turn off the eye icon and click on the icon, pressing Ctrl. And look at what areas we have selected. That is, I can not only save the selected area, but also change it in some way, which of course increases our creative capabilities. And we can also fully work with this image on the channel. For example, I have now created another black and white copy of this image, and I press Ctrl+A, thus selecting all the image completely. I switch to channels, edit, and I have a white channel like this. If I turn it on now, then I will not have a red color, because in order to mask something, we need to work with black brush. And for example, we can take a black brush and mask some individual areas of the image. I remove the selection. Well, for example, I will do it like this. Let's say we have some small areas of the image that will be colored. Well, here you can think about how to make it more beautiful. I'm doing it now, to be honest, absolutely randomly. Well, for example, like this. I vary levels of transparency and create a strange selected area. Then I turn off the eye icon. Click. I have the selected area loaded. Then I go to layers. Here, with the help of this red backlight, you can see that my channel is active. And now I would probably prefer to invert this selection. So I choose Select, Invert, and press Shift plus Ctrl plus I. And let me either click Delete or apply a mask. And this is the image I got as a result. Here you can come up with a lot of different ways to use the selected area. It is not necessary to desaturate a layer. It is possible to make something more interesting. In general, I hope that you will be creative and use the preservation of a selected area in the channels to give this image some interesting look. That's all for today. It was Peter Romanov and AIM School. See you next time.